Assalamu alaikum. Salam Allah. Peace to the gods and earth. Shalom. Today, beloved, I would like to share with you a chapter from one of my books titled Ghetto Gods and Goddesses. It's from the Department of Supreme Understanding, our spiritual mother and father. Now, the premise of this particular chapter is to clarify some of the theological mistakes that we make sometimes in trying to understand Messenger Elijah Muhammad's teachings. We sometimes try to put the cipher or the circle into a square peg, know what I mean, and it just doesn't fit, know what I mean. So, let me read this. It's not a long piece. Yeah, it's not that long. Okay. It was written for a reader. So it says, opens up, "Dear reader." And before we begin, the premise is, who is the spiritual mother of the Nation of Islam? Not according to me, not according to your teacher or their teacher, but who is the spiritual mother of the Nation of Islam according to Messenger Elijah Muhammad himself? That's it. Real simple. Leave my teachings as it is. What does the messenger have to say, and what does the messenger teaches us regarding our spiritual mother? In addition, what does the messenger Elijah Muhammad, the first, last, and only messenger of Allah, God Sakin, God in person, has to say about who is the spiritual father of the Nation of Islam? Biologically, systematically, the way the universe operates, we get one mother and one father. That one mother and that one father produces the seed or the child or the children. The scriptures teaches us that the children could be like the stars of heaven. It takes a village to raise a child. Okay? So, you may not have a brother or sister or son or daughter or niece or nephew, but everybody has a biological mother and a spiritual mother and a biological father and a spiritual father. All of the seeds, all of the children of God is God's. So let us go into this. Dear reader, what you are about to read is of the utmost importance. On the surface, it seems trivial, relatively insignificant, unimportant. But if you have 6 correct keys and there are 7 locks, without the 7th key, you will not get into heaven. Peace of mind. Physically, all black people have or had a physical mother and father. Due to imperialism and racism, the black family historically have been broken. Some of our parents leave, divorce, fight, argue, get high, are spooky, killed, commit suicide, die from disease, etc. But Allah God, in His infinite love, mercy, and understanding, fills the void by blessing all black people with one spiritual father and one spiritual mother. Many FOI and or MGT are switching spiritual parents and disrespecting our real spiritual father, Allah, and our real spiritual mother, Messenger, by calling others mom and dad. Mom is not dad, and dad is not mom, neither spiritually or biologically. Sometimes the oldest child or most mature child has to take care of the rest of the children when the parent or parents are not there physically and or mentally. But no brother or sister can become their brothers and sisters' mother or father. As it is in the physical realm, so it is in the spiritual realm. The scriptures teaches us this, and I quote, "And call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven." Bible, St. Matthew's, chapter 23, verse 9. The theology to this verse means Allah God, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom all praises are due forever, is our spiritual father, our Abu. Our mother is our Ummi in the Arabic language. And no one on earth, physical plane, has authority over the will of Allah. The brain has 7 dimensions: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, soul, self, will. The lowest self is earthly, the physical, but the highest self is heavenly, the will. As student followers of Messenger Elijah Muhammad's teachings, you should not take what I say as a minister over what the Messenger Elijah Muhammad said. Everything the messenger taught had to be in accord with the will of Allah, Master Fard Muhammad, to whom all praises are due forever, and everything the ministers say and or do must be in accord with the will of the last messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. These hadiths are sayings of FOI MGT officials do not carry more authority than the new Holy Quran, meaning the direct divine teachings of Messenger Elijah Muhammad. You cannot take what your minister said over what Messenger Elijah Muhammad said. You cannot take what your minister did over what Messenger Elijah Muhammad did. You cannot take the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and subjugate them to your particular brand, your particular branch. The trunk of the tree, the messenger said, is stronger than any of its branches. That trunk is rooted in truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality, or Islam. Okay? So the proper way to understand who is our spiritual father and mother is to first take it to Allah and His messenger. See, I don't want you guessing. I don't want you listening to my theory, my assumptions, my guesswork, my opinions. I'm not going to tell you the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us this. I'm going to tell you what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, where he said it, if practical, when he said it. Then I'm teaching you the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, some of you may want to argue with me, but what you're really arguing with is the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Okay? Since they are not physically here, we must refer it to the books, and as a last resort, those in authority. So our first premise, our first step is, okay, whatever subject, what does the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teach us about that? Okay? You can't take something out of context. Like if the messenger say, don't eat peas. He said, Allah forbids us to eat any kind of peas. Field peas, speckled peas, black-eyed peas, pinto beans, whatever. You know what I mean? And someone says to the messenger later on, when you said that, did you mean peas? And how they to live, he put in a clause. He put in a qualifier. He put in a Bill of Rights into that Constitution. He said, hold up. When I told y'all that, I wasn't even thinking about what we call sweet peas. The ones that grow in the pod. Oh, y'all can eat those. You see? Now here you read in this part of the book, you quote the messenger said in Honey to Live page such says, do not eat no peas, beans, this, that, the other, split peas, field peas. He said absolutely no peas. But the messenger himself was like, I forgot about that little sweet pea. Now say he didn't say that. That little sweet pea grows in a pod. So it's not really legume to the scientists. That's a fruit. So without the messenger saying that, I would already know we can eat sweet peas. You be like, what you talking about? We can eat sweet peas, this, that, and the other. You're not using knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Okay? We need all three. Not just the knowledge of self. Not just the regurgitation of that knowledge. Not just somebody teaching you their wisdom, their self-styled wisdom. but you need to understand it. You need to put it in cultural constructs. You need to put it in its proper place at its proper time. You need to put it in what's known and extrapolate what is not known. You see? So if the message say don't eat no peas, no peanut butter, this, that, and the other, you have to say, okay, well, what about the seeds in the tomato? Be like, did the messenger take the seeds out his tomatoes when he ate some raw salad? No, because he said virtually all fruits are good to eat. Okay, well, all fruits are good to eat. We can eat any kind of fruit. No. He said, don't eat corn. But corn is a fruit. Yes. But that plastic, that hull on that corn, the messenger teaches we shouldn't eat that. But how did the little messenger say we could eat some cornbread? No, he said if you're going to eat some cornbread, make sure you dice some onions in there. Now, I mean, cook it well done, nice and slow. Let it rise and fall. Put some yeast in it, because cornbread it's too rough on the digestive system. It tastes delicious. My grandma used to make cornbread. I used to love that cornbread with some butter on it. Know what I mean? But I also love the big lima beans with some hot sauce on it. I also love collard greens with some hot sauce on it. Know what I mean? My mom used to put the smoked turkey neck bones up in the collard greens. That didn't mean that it was good for me just because it tastes delicious. Know what I mean? My grandmother died of cancer. Know what I mean? You know, our people suffer all types of aches and ailments. Know what I mean? You know, when we eat things that we shouldn't eat, know what I mean, we could get sick and die from that. So let's look at this. Messenger Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Master Farad Muhammad is our spiritual father, and that he, Messenger Elijah Muhammad, is our spiritual mother. Stop right there for a moment. There is, let me see, who was that? I remember years ago. This is like 30 something years ago. It was Brother Minister Jeremiah Shabazz and Brother Minister Silas Muhammad, the spiritual son as he was known at the time. I remember Silas Muhammad one time, he was giving a speech, and he basically was explaining that Messenger Elijah Muhammad is our spiritual mother. I was so happy to see that in his Muhammad speech. I was like, he got it. Brother Minister Silas got it. Now, I mean, because at the time, the brothers in our cipher was saying that Master Farad Muhammad was our spiritual mother. Now, we can, you know, say something like that and it'd be 100% true depending on your niyat, your intention. What do you mean by that? But as far as teaching that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Master Farad Muhammad is our spiritual mother, that's stretching it. That's not an accurate, actual fact. That may be an actual belief, but it's not an actual fact. Okay? Now, let's look at what the messenger had to say himself. This is from the Holy Message to the Black Man in America on page 4, 1965. You heard it. I'm telling you where the messenger taught this. What page? What year? So you could take and read it for yourself. Don't take my word at it. Don't take my teacher's hook, line, and sinker. Don't get spooky with me either. I mean, you have to piece it apart, as the messenger said. The messenger said in the Holy Message to the Black Man in America, page 4, 1965, the following quote: He who has found us, who you know found us? Who is this he? He who has found us is our Father, the God of love, light, life, freedom, justice, and equality. Okay, now we have our first premise. The messenger teaches us, he who has found us is our Father, the God of love, light, life, freedom, justice, and equality. So someone said, well, who's our Father? He who has found us, Master Farad Muhammad, to whom all praises are due forever, is he's not everybody's Father. This isn't a slight against, say, the nation of gods on earth. Master Muhammad is not the God of the nation of gods and earths. Father-in-law, Clarence 13X, he's the one that went out in the streets and risked his life and reputation and sparked the streets with the knowledge of themselves. Now, I mean, if someone in India, in fact, you had a messenger over India, like we had a messenger over here teaching Indians, 1 billion Indians over there. Now, I mean, against all of the racism that they were suffering under. They was considered the black Dalits, the so-called untouchables. They hated black Indians so much that if they walked by, they had to have a broom tied to that, around the string around their neck so that they could sweep behind them. And I remember 30-something years ago, a politician's daughter was on a travel channel. She was over in India, and she was crying, and the cameraman, she was like, stop the camera. He was like, what's the problem? She told the audience, she's like, listen, India's caste system is so racist that the lighter you are, the better you are. The darker you are, the worse you are. So much so that a little girl, black girl, walked past me and she had a broom tied around her neck and she was sweeping behind herself, and I was confused and I asked the cameraman, why this little girl got a broom around her neck? And they explained that in their country, black people are so evil, so filthy, that you don't want their shadow to pass or touch your shadow. You don't want to step in their footprints. So they have to sweep their footprints out of the dust so that you, as a white woman, can walk there. And they had a messenger rise up in that midst telling them black is beautiful. Black Indians is just as good as anybody else. I respect that. I love that. That's what we need in China. That's what we need in the Aboriginals. That's what the Native American Indians need. You know what I mean? And imagine our people having what the Holy Quran teaches. Every nation gets a messenger. Now, the scholars are real smart. But on certain things with that Quran, they get real dumb. Real spooky. Real fast. You can't teach that Prophet Muhammad is the Khatim Nabi or the seal of the prophets, and in the same breath, you can articulate the Arabic fluent and better than me, and all of a sudden you don't understand the difference between a Nabi and a Rasul, or a prophet and a messenger. And you'd be like in one breath, oh, Prophet Muhammad is the seal of the messengers. Where you get that from? That's not Quranic. You're taking hadith, so the Quran says no, Prophet Muhammad is the Khatim Nabi. He's the seal, he's the last of the prophethood. The Quran teaches, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, every nation gets a messenger. And that messenger speaks the language of his people. You can't have an Arab messenger teaching this wilderness. Who, ain't nobody gonna understand him but maybe a couple of people. You know what I mean? So you can't have a German-speaking messenger for the black man in America. You can't have a Chinese speaking their language over here, because we wouldn't understand. We you know, it's like, it's common sense. It's natural. It's universal. You just like, why would God send a black crow to go teach the white seagulls? Why would God send a shark to go teach the tuna? Why would God send a piranha fish to go educate and raise the goldfish? They got different natures. They got different philosophy. They be like, we're all fish. We're all marine creatures. You're getting spooky. You're going outside the law's universal order of things. So it is with human beings. You know what I mean? We can't have an Arab man come over here speaking Arabic to resurrect the so-called African American after 400 years of chattel slavery. Okay, so the messenger says again, he who has found us is our Father, the God of love, light, life, freedom, justice, and equality. By messenger Elijah Muhammad, the holy message to the black man in America, page 4. There is only one Father who is the God of love, and his name is Master Fard Muhammad, Allah in person. Messenger Elijah Muhammad explained in the Field Journal's manual that Jesus is son of 2 men in a nation. The biblical Jesus is more symbolic than historical fact. Jesus is a sign of Master Fard Muhammad because Jesus' mother, meaning Mary, got pregnant by God himself to give birth to the Christ child, meaning Jesus or Master Fard Muhammad. This really refers to Master Fard Muhammad's white mother, Mimi, getting pregnant by the black god-man Alfonso Shabazz. I know it's Alfonso. Ain't no P's in there. Alfonso Shabazz, the leader of the godly or the godlike, to give birth to the crusher of wickedness, Master Fard Muhammad. Jesus is a sign of Messenger Elijah Muhammad because Jesus began a ministry and raised disciples or ministers. Jesus made the blind see the truth, hear the truth, and speak the truth. Jesus raised the dead mentally. Jesus is a sign of a nation because the black nation was crucified on the cross of truth and falsehood, talking about the so-called African Americans. We could not think properly because we had a crown of thorns or miseducations around our brain. The Bible teaches us in the book of Hebrews chapter 7 verses 1 through 3 the following. For this Melchizedek, King of Peace, shout out to the beloved elder Melchizedek. We got our own Melchizedek right out Harlem. I mean, for this Melchizedek, talking about this one here, we're talking about in the scriptures here. For this Melchizedek, or King of Peace, without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto the Son of God, abideth a priest continued. Now, I mean, see, Melchizedek drops some Jews on y'all, and I mean, the confusers be like, hold up, wait a minute. How can he be FOI and 5%? How can we not be 5% in FOI? Don't the FOI's lessons teach that we're 5% poor righteous teachers? Okay. If you're 5% and you're honest, don't your 120 teach you about the FOI? What does it mean of FOI? What does it mean of Captain Luke, the Captain Lieutenant? I mean, so come on with the spooky stuff. We always get spooky when it comes to the teachings. So let's go back to the root here. We could not defend or build for ourselves because our hands or works were nailed to the cross of facts and fantasy. We could not stand up or walk on the path of righteousness because the Romans, American slave masters, fastened our feet or foundation, meaning our roots, to the crossroads of truth and lies. So Messenger Elijah Muhammad theologically teaches us that Jesus is a sign of two men in a nation. Fits the prototype of the so-called African Americans being guided by Allah and his only messenger. The Holy Quran teaches us in Surah 23, Ayat 50 the following. And we, meaning the 24 scientists, made the son of Mary, Jesus, and his mother, meaning Mary, a sign. And we gave them refuge on the lofty ground, meaning the nation of Islam, having meadows or lessons and springs or teachings. Just as Master Fard Muhammad is our spiritual father, Messenger Elijah Muhammad is our spiritual mother, or the Mary of the book, as Silence puts it. Let me quote something from Messenger Elijah Muhammad to verify this position. The messenger says, in the Holy Our Savior Has Arrived, his last book on page 164, published in 1974, February 26, the following quote. As Joseph was at his wit's end trying to find a place for Jesus and his mother Mary at the time of his birth, Bible, Luke chapter 2, verse 7, so are we. Everywhere that we go trying to find an end to give birth to this baby, meaning the so-called American Negro, we are hindered not by the common people, but by the chief rulers of this land. The woman Mary mentioned in the prophecy refers to Messenger Elijah Muhammad and not a white woman from 2,000 years ago. The real mother of Jesus or Isa was a black woman. The Holy Quran reveals she was made a sign. The woman, meaning Messenger Elijah Muhammad, was spiritually impregnated by God with the seed of truth in 1931. Here's what the messenger says in The Holy Our Savior Has Arrived, February 26, 1974, page 162. Quote, the king Herod desired most of all to kill Jesus in his infancy. Bible, Revelation chapter 12, verse 4. Tells us that the dragon stood before the woman. The dragon stood before the woman. The woman here represents the messenger of God. The woman here represents the messenger of God. The child represents the followers of the messenger. Quote, the woman here represents the messenger of God. The child represents the followers of the messenger. By Messenger Elijah Muhammad, The Holy Our Savior Has Arrived, page 162. He can't get no simpler and clearer than that. Remember, he who has found us is our Father. Okay? The God of love. Message to the black man, page 4. The woman here represents the messenger of God. The child represents the followers of the messenger. Al says arrived, page 162. The director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, used counterintelligence program known as COINTELPRO to try to stop the rise of the Christ child or the Nation of Islam. Our spiritual father, Master Fard Muhammad, and our spiritual mother, Messenger Elijah Muhammad, escaped the trick knowledge of Satan, meaning the U.S. government. The dragon, or the drag you down, is the Pope of Rome. The dragon, Pope of Rome, tried to drag us down from the Mount of Prosperity, but the child was born with a rod of iron or strong will. The messenger says, in the True History of Master Fard Muhammad, page 81, published by Mimps, quote, the mother of Jesus well represents a messenger from among you. The mother of Jesus well represents a messenger from among you. Pregnation with a new world out of you. Almighty God, Allah, is the Father and must protect the infant baby nation, the so-called Negroes, whom He is carrying. Dear reader, what is there after truth but error? Falsehood. Theologically, our spiritual father is Fard and our spiritual mother is Elijah. There is no other. Each child is born with only one father and one mother. Even if you clone, graft, share sperm, eggs, or use a surrogate mother, there is only one father and one mother. This does not mean that a foster father and foster mother cannot love and adopt a child. But as it is in the physical, so it is in the spiritual. We only have one spiritual father, the Supreme Allah, and one spiritual mother, the last messenger. We do not need nor want another. I leave you with a quote from Messenger Elijah Muhammad from the Holy Message to the Black Man in America on page 127 in 1964. The woman in Revelation 12 verse 4 actually refers to the last apostle. Say it again. The woman in Revelation 12:4 actually refers to the last apostle of God, and her child refers to his followers, or the entire Negro race as they are called, who are not ready to be delivered, go to their own. By Messenger Elijah Muhammad, the Holy Message to the Black Man in America, page 127. I pray within and work without. You learn to love and respect our mom and dad. Assalamu alaikum. The struggle continues.